we ran a network of 41,000 nodes, which is a lot. It puts us, I think, that ultimately speed is not really the bottleneck right now. Blockchain actually is not at the current stage of adoption. We don't have a shortage of throughput. I think what's actually more important is the cost. And that's why I bring up this number, which is the average cost of a transaction on Ethereum is about 24 cents. And what if we could actually reduce that by 1,000 times? And we think we can. Not only by making our consensus algorithm more efficient, but also by using proof of stake. So that's a big part of also what we're doing, is not just the deep sharding, but also proof of stake. And not only are we thinking about proof of stake in terms of how to make a secure proof of stake consensus, but also about the economics of proof of stake. So this is a short diagram of our specific model for bidding on validator slots in our network. I don't want to go too deep into this, but we have a blog post on it. It's called Effective Proof of Stake, so check that out. But the point is that by combining deep sharding with proof of stake, we're able to not only increase our throughput, but also bring down the cost of running an application or using our network, which I think is going to be one of the key differentiators going forward among different blockchain protocols. So we actually launched our mainnet in June of this year. It's a permission mainnet at this point in time, but we're slowly, gradually transitioning to a fully permissionless system. And these are our current stats. So we have already 320 external nodes, and that puts us actually in the top 15 most decentralized blockchains within that metric, which we're really proud of. So even other blockchains like Cosmos, they have only 100 validators. We already have 300 external validators. That's about 30% external participation, and we're planning to ramp that up all the way to 100 and fully permissionless by the end of the year. And our network is very stable. We have around 99% average node uptime, which is something to be very proud of, because stability is really the cornerstone of the network. If your network's always going down, then it's not that useful, not something that people can rely on. And another thing that was really important to us when we were designing our protocol is we wanted anyone to be able to run a node on their laptop. And that's why we made a very specific design decision to make the resource constraints for running a node as low as possible. So you only need 2 gigabytes of RAM and around 64 gigabytes of memory or storage to run a node on the Harmony network. And the reason this is important is, again, if you reduce the barrier to entry, you can have more participation, you can have a more democratic chain, and you can have greater decentralization. And furthermore, actually, again, the cost, right? It's only $25 to run a node on the Harmony network per month. And that's on cloud. If you run on a local system, it should be even cheaper. So this is, anyone in the world should be able to participate, and that's what we believe in. And that's why we did Pangea, which was an incentivized testnet. It's similar to Game of Stakes, if you guys are familiar with what Cosmos did, but we took a different approach. Other chains were all about highlighting very sophisticated validators and making them compete and battle each other. But what we wanted to instead demonstrate with Pangea is that anyone, as I was saying, anyone can run a node. So we incentivize people from around the world to sign up and for the first time ever actually participate in a blockchain protocol. And these are some of the stats. So you can't see the map in the background, but it's kind of faint. But it has all the different cities from all the countries around the world that signed up and participated and are actually running nodes on the Pangea network. And I think this really is setting a new standard for decentralization. You can see all across South America, the US, Europe, Asia, even in Africa. And so we're truly global. And one of my favorite things is actually there's this node out here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on an island in the Azores in Portugal. So that was pretty cool, because who would have thought that some guy on an island in Portugal would be running a Harmony node, but there you go, someone's doing it. And my only pet peeve about this is that there's no node in Hawaii, which is where I'm from. So next time I'm going to fix that and make sure that someone from Hawaii is running a Harmony node. But yeah, here's some of the stats. So we had over 2,500 signups and 96 different countries. 56% of the people that participated had never run a node before. And again, that's really important because if we're going to reach mass adoption of billions of people like we want to, then we need to let people who've never participated in blockchains actually have a stake, actually be able to run and participate. So we're really proud of that. And part of this is that we created a one-click deploy script so that anyone can simply make one click, and within 5 minutes, their node is connected and running and reaching consensus on our network. So we put a lot of effort into this, and I think we're seeing some really great momentum with our global community of validators. So anyway, we have a great technology, we have a functioning mainnet, but is anyone really using it? Like at the end of the day, you build this great highway, but are there any cars driving up and down? It's a good question, and we're happy to say that yes. There are people using it. So this is actually a demo app that we built concurrent with our IEO on Binance. And we had 16K users, 192 different countries, and 10 minutes average game time, which we're proud of. But that was just sort of a demonstration. We're actually looking for a much bigger next step. And that's where this Formula One auction kind of comes to mind. We weren't involved in this, but our close partner, Animoca Brands, based in Hong Kong, was a key player in this auction. And what's so surprising is that this car was auctioned for $113,000 US. And what that signals to us is there's a new wave of digital collectibles that are coming onto the blockchain. And we want to be one of the first protocols to really build a digital collectible ecosystem. And why this is important is because we recently led an acquisition with Animoca of a mobile app called Quid. Now you can check it out on Android or iOS App Store. And Quid has about 7 million collectors. Let me take a step back. Quid is basically an app where anyone can buy and trade these little collectible items that are branded with lots of household global brands, like NBA or Marvel or let's see, Game of Thrones, Rick and Morty. So they have all these different brand licenses, and people come on there to buy and trade little digital items. And this is important because it's sort of the beginning of this trend of people, people are buying sneakers and trading sneakers, people buy baseball cards, but now a lot of that can be done even in the digital realm and powered by blockchain, because blockchain enables for the first time ownership of unique digital items. The same way that you can own a Bitcoin and no one can steal it from you, you can own a digital item for the first time. And so we're really excited about this. They have 7 million collectors, a huge community. They have 325 different brands and 2 million items, 10 million in total item value, and 6 transactions average per second in the aftermarket trading. So it's a very liquid marketplace for people to buy and trade these digital collectibles. Here's sort of a sneak peek into some of the brands that they have on their platform. And we're hoping that this kind of becomes the cornerstone of the gaming ecosystem. Because one of the theses around digital collectibles is that not only do people want to buy and sell them and trade them, but now, because it's a digital asset, it can be plugged into different game ecosystems. And it can be something that interacts with games that people build. So it can kind of create what's called an extensible gaming ecosystem. And that's what we're really excited to try to pursue with Animoca and with Quid. And finally, another use case that we're excited to announce is a fitness app called Limpo. They're currently operating with Ethereum, but they have 100,000 monthly active users, and they've already completed 5.4 million fitness challenges. Well, actually, let me take a step back. What Limpo is basically it's a fitness tracker that incentivizes you to complete running and walking fitness challenges, and you get paid in a little crypto token. And it's to sort of create this incentive loop, feedback loop, so that you keep going back and doing more challenges. And the reason that they built themselves on Ethereum, but basically the cost per transaction on Ethereum proved to be too high. And especially as their number of users is continuing to grow, they're running into challenges of scaling, basically. And so we're really excited to announce that they're going to be actually migrating their token and their whole app from Ethereum to the Harmony blockchain. And so we're really looking forward to that. And the coolest thing is that it's not just about the fact that they need scalability. They have a long-term vision that we're really aligned with, which is that it's not just paying people in tokens to incentivize them to work out. It's also something way bigger, which is that they want to allow users to monetize their own health data. So as you use the app and that you collect data about your own fitness habits, you can then monetize it to people companies that want to sell products to you, or even more interestingly, to insurance companies that want to know more about your health habits so they can better insure you. So we're really excited about this because it's sort of the beginning of this data sharing, new alternative to the information economy where data has value and users own their data and can monetize it. So Limpo is a really cool use case that we're very excited to announce. And then finally, we're very passionate about finance. We think that finance is one of the major use cases for blockchains as a whole. And that's why we're integrating with another partner called Carbon. What Carbon is basically a payments layer, a global payment layer. So they support, probably over 50 different countries: credit, debit, ACH, SEPA, wire transfers, and it basically allows anyone within 1 minute to purchase one token. So why is that important? It's important because if you've ever tried to use something on Ethereum, you have this issue of you need the actual token to do anything, right? You need to pay gas, you need to pay fees, right? And so what that means is that if I'm trying to use Ethereum, I have to go to an exchange, sign up, go through KYC, get the token. Then if you're offered on one of those direct fiat exchanges, that's good because you can stop there. But if you're not, then you have to transfer to a crypto exchange, buy and sell the token, then take it to your wallet, and then interact with the app. So that is such a huge hurdle that oftentimes that stops a lot of people from actually adopting and using blockchain. So what's great about Carbon is it allows people to literally directly go from US dollars or whatever fiat currency they're familiar with directly to one. And the process can only takes up to 1 minute. They even support Apple Pay. This is actually a GIF showing the Apple Pay, but it's a PDF presentation, so it's not showing up. And beyond that, actually, what's even more important is that DApp developers in the Harmony ecosystem can integrate this payments layer directly into their app with 5 lines of code. So that means if I'm Limpo, I can just put a little widget into my application, and now my users can actually buy and sell and interact directly natively with my application. So there's none of this kind of overhead that we're used to of interacting with a decentralized application. And more excitingly, in 3 months, actually Carbon will be partnering with us to launch a stablecoin on our platform. And stablecoin is important for the ecosystem because it basically is the seed for a lot of finance, not just payments, but trading and all different kinds of applications. So Carbon is really helping us kind of get our foot in the door with, in terms of finance for Harmony. And then, of course, liquidity is very important. So these are some of the exchanges that we're currently working with. And we're really excited to say that we recently were shortlisted on Coinbase. So we're not listed on Coinbase, but we're really excited that they're interested in us, and we'll be working with them closely. So hopefully we'll make progress there. But, and finally, last note is that our team is still as hungry and as foolish as we were when we first started a year and a half ago. And our team has grown significantly. We now have around 20 people full-time in Silicon Valley and about 40 people in total full-time around the world. So we're really proud of the people we've brought on board from all different top kinds of companies and schools. But after all these numbers, there's only really one number that matters at the end of the day to us. And that number is 1. And the reason 1 is important is not just because it's our ticker symbol. It's also because 1 to us signifies what we're trying to do. 1 is both the individual as well as the collective. 1 is about, it really is sort of an analogy for blockchain, right? I can be an individual, I can be a node, but all of us together in the network come to consensus and become one greater whole. And that's really what we stand for. You know, all the ones and zeros in computer science, we really believe in the number one. And that's because we want to create the blockchain for humans. And what that means is that we're in a time in the history of technology where a lot of our humanity is being threatened. Social media is being used to manipulate our behavior, to monitor us. It feels like we're kind of going down the wrong path. The technology is taking us down perhaps a way, something that we didn't anticipate and weren't really prepared for. And maybe, you know, automation will take away our jobs. It's all sort of technology is both good and bad. And what we want to stand for is the good, what's good in technology. And that's what we mean by the blockchain for humans. We really think blockchain can stand up for our rights and actually give us power back from the internet monopolies, from governments that don't have our best interests at heart. And that's what we stand for. So anyone who's inspired by what we're trying to do, please come up and talk to me. And anyone who's online, we'll just leave you with this one message, which is that we want you to be the one. What that means is be the one who stands up for what you believe in, be the one who, you know, participates in the network, be the one who wants to change the world for the better. And that's what we stand for. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Nick, and happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Nick. That was beautiful.
Yep.
Thank you. So I'll get the ball rolling with just one question I have in mind. I saw your team slides that you had people from Stanford and various other universities. It seems really impressive. Like how do you all band together to create, to come together and work on R&D?
That's a really good question. So a lot of it started with a meetup, which Steven, our CEO, founded 2 years ago, which is an ex-Googler meetup that kind of branched out into being just a meetup for all kinds of engineers, entrepreneurs, investors, and through that meetup is how many of us connected, and it sort of formed the seed of our community. But I think that once you get a critical mass of really bright people in one place that are all very passionate, I think that the culture is really important. If you really have a vision that people can latch onto and believe in, then it kind of attracts more and more great people. So I feel like we're really lucky to have all these wonderful, talented team members, but I think it's also because what we stand for something more than just technology. I think that's what enables us to draw those kinds of individuals in.
Thank you. Right, I'll open up questions to the floor now.
Hey Nick, just now you mentioned about carbon collaboration. So in case I misunderstand, the 5 lines of code is to integrate only for one or basically any other cryptocurrency?
So what that is basically there's a widget that if I'm a DApp developer and I want to have payments as part of my decentralized application, I just have to kind of put in a pre-formatted few lines of code, and then when my DApp is running, it will have that payment integrated. So it's sort of like a widget, like a plug-and-play widget for developers that want to have payments as part of their application.
So which means with this widget, it can be any form of token payment, or it's only for one?
So it depends. It's on whatever they support. At this moment in time, they're mostly plugging into the base layer protocols. So in this case, it's just going to be one. But I can see in the future, perhaps, supporting the tokens on the Harmony ecosystem.
Thank you.
Of course.
Just have one more question?
Of course, yeah, go for it.
Sure, please do.
Yeah, I think Limbo is very exciting. For a long time, our data has been very monetized by the financial institution and the other companies. When do you think Limbo will be ready, to be launched? And how do you foresee that we can, the consumers can monetize our own health data?
That's a good question. In terms of timing, I don't know. I think it'll take a while because it's an entirely new business model. But I agree with you. I think it's really, really exciting to envision a world where, my fitness, my data in general, not even just fitness, but my data is something that I own and I can benefit from. It's something that we really believe in. In fact, we think that, in some ways data there's a book actually called Radical Markets, and in that book, this guy Glenn Weil talks about things like data as labor. And people talk about data as oil, the new oil, and it really is a valuable resource. And so it's really odd that when we're creating all this data nowadays, we just hand it over for free, right? And then that data is then used not only for that company to make money, but even then to turn around and kind of manipulate us, right? With Cambridge Analytica, the US, manipulating the election. And that's just a small window into what's really going on underneath the hood. So we think that we kind of live actually in a kind of data slavery economy, in a sense. And so we really believe that Limpo and health data is sort of a first step towards this broader vision of data being sovereign, self-sovereign data, and data bringing income to the people who actually create it. But I think it's so early, it'll be a long time to figure out how these business models will work, and for it to really reach mainstream. But I think Limpo has a good shot of being one of the first applications doing that.
Thank you.
Hi Nick. If I want to issue a new type of token or create a dialog harmony, what programming language or deploying model can I use?
That's a great question, and something I should have covered actually. So we are, to start, supporting the EVM and Solidity. So that means that we made it very easy for anyone who's been developing on Ethereum or currently has an app on Ethereum to port over to Harmony. So it'll be very, very, very simple and straightforward. But in the future, we're actually tracking a lot of the progress that's being made in the WebAssembly world. And I think there's a lot of excitement from developers about WebAssembly and WASM applied to blockchain. So I think in the future, we're definitely considering the transition to WASM soon. But for now, we think that a lot of the developers are currently working on Solidity, so we want to make it easy for them to use our chain. So Solidity is fine.
So it means that Harmony token is used to pay the transaction fees too?
I couldn't hear that, sorry?
It means that because the EVM requires the gas.
Yes, so we have a gas as well. So there's gas fees because we're a smart contract platform. So using smart contracts, you need to pay gas. Yeah, but you pay in one token. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question here.
Sorry, I missed your presentation part. I would like to ask, what's your key unique value proposition? Because currently we have a lot of platforms which provide very similar service, right? So what's the key value proposition from
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot of chains promising the same thing in terms of scalability. I think one of the key things that we've targeted that might be slightly different is that we're really trying to emphasize reducing the cost of using blockchain, because I think the cost actually limits a lot of cool use cases, the microtransactions to name one, for example. I think if blockchains continue to be so expensive, then we won't really see the full potential. But I'm sure that there are other chains that also boast about having low fees. So I think another thing that really differentiates us in terms of, at the end of the day, I think maybe everyone's kind of converging on similar architectures. And what may differentiate us the best is just execution. I think we're moving at a faster speed than most of our competitors. We have live mainnet, we have all these partnerships, and so there's a genuine excitement. And furthermore, I think, again, taking it sort of to a philosophical level, I think that the Harmony brand and our mission stands for something more. It's not just about technology at the end of the day, right? And I think hopefully that draws more people that believe in what we're doing to build and use Harmony.
Thanks.
Alright, so I'll ask a question. So just building a bit on this gentleman's question, right, on developer and what language you're using. So it's obviously competing with Ethereum and other smart contract platforms. So are there some sort of incentives that Harmony has to help train developers or attract developers who will go on to power the blockchain future?
Yeah, so that's actually something that we're working on next, which is, so we did the incentivized testnet, right? And that's to build a validator community. So the next thing that we're really trying to target is to have some sort of incentivization scheme to build a developer community. It's too early for me to share any of those ideas, but we're really excited to be thinking along those lines. A project that actually has a cool mechanism for this is actually Blockstack. So they have this sort of like ranking system, so that all the D apps that are running on Blockstack, every month the top 10 get like paid, and they have incentives up to like 100,000 in total, like prizes. So that's cool because it kind of it's an ongoing bounty system for people to build apps that people actually use. So that's one cool way to do it, but we have some more creative ideas about how we want to do it, but I don't have anything concrete to say right now. But for any developers out there watching, we will stay tuned because we will have something for you.
Okay, that sounds exciting. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Alright, any more questions from the floor?
Like in terms of platforms like these other technologies, like when you guys first started, did you guys consider others like not blockchain, like for example, block letters or other kind of technologies?
Yeah, so you're talking about other data structures rather than blockchain, like DAGs or something like that? Yeah, I think that, well, in some ways, if you think about it deeply enough, and you go deeply enough into the problem, there's a lot of kind of parallels between all these different data structures and approaches. In some ways, actually, you can think of a sharded blockchain as sort of like a DAG, because you have all these different chains running side by side, and the cross-chain cross-shard transactions are connecting them, and it kind of makes a DAG structure. So, I guess at the end of the day, yeah, we looked at a lot of different things. At the end of the day, the sharding with a traditional blockchain architecture in each shard, to us was the most elegant solution, and also the most sort of proven out and secure. So that's why we went with the current architecture.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Alright, we have time for one last question from the floor. Okay, now I'll take it instead. So I'm actually very curious.
Okay.
I mean, we're here at Invest Asia, so probably wouldn't be complete without asking about a little bit about your tokenomics.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So, is it very similar to Ethereum? Tokenomics is driven based on proof of work for Ethereum, but proof of stake for your side, right? And through the usage as a gas fee. Are there anything else that would drive value for the one token?
So I think that beyond the fact that you want to stake it to earn block rewards, and you have to use it to pay for transaction and gas fees, there's also an element of governance. So the token will be used to govern the platform. But I think deeper than that, the one token, it's all about if you build applications on top of it. It's sort of like in Ethereum now, right? With all these DeFi applications, I can take my Ethereum and mint DAI with it, or I can loan it out, or I can even invest, right, for ICOs. So I think that the auxiliary services that get built on top of the blockchain also drive a lot of demand for the token. So that's why we're really trying to build out this ecosystem, because it's the ecosystem of services on top of Harmony that really powers the chain. The consensus itself is just the beginning, and one of the primary base use cases, but we're looking for a lot more in the future. That's a good question, though.
Thanks, Manjun.
Yeah.
Great answer. Alright, so that's all the time we have for this session with Nick from Harmony. A round of applause for him.
Thank you, guys. Come talk to me if you want to chat or work with us. I'd love to meet you all.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so you have just heard from Nick of Harmony, and right now we are about to take a short break. The Changelog session from Invest Asia 2019 is brought to you by CoinGecko, one of the largest crypto data aggregator in the world. And if you want more updates, insights to various projects, do join us back here at 2 p.m. We will start sharp at 2 p.m. So if your friends want to hear it live, online, and they're not here, but they're not here, tell them to tune into our live stream. We are streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you very much and see you later.